Pundits like to talk about grand budget bargains and shared sacrifice. They push politicians to get tough and show leadership. Usually what they mean by that is making cuts to Social Security and Medicare. Lately, a different kind of cut has been getting attention. It's called means testing, a way to cut benefits for those who can afford it. We've heard millionaires like Tom Brokaw say it. Hey, I don't really need my Social Security check, so the government can keep the money. The New York Times columnist David Brooks offered a similar idea. Cut Medicare benefits for the rich a little and use that money to do good things like build roads and fix schools. Well, who couldn't get behind that? And thank you to those rich pundits for stepping up and sacrificing. But not so fast. Brooks was inspired by a column in the New York Times by former Bush staffer Yuval Levin. He proposes to means test Social Security. The top 1/3 of beneficiaries would get a benefit cut, the middle third a smaller benefit cut. What he doesn't want to tell you is who these people are. The middle third of Social Security recipients have incomes of about $25,000 per year, which is not wealthy. And that's the big problem here. There aren't a lot of super wealthy people who wouldn't notice a cut in benefits, and thus it wouldn't save much money, unless you take a substantial chunk away from people who really aren't very wealthy at all. What could raise serious revenue? Raising taxes on the wealthy, particularly on their investment income. It's funny how elite pundits don't seem to be too excited about that kind of sacrifice.
And finally, being a pundit, as we've often noted, means never having to say you're sorry. That worked out well for David Brooks recently. The New York Times columnist got so thoroughly caught up in his own conventional wisdom on February 22nd, flailing against partisan dysfunction in Washington, both parties failing to get something done, and so on, that he veered off into fantasy. Obama, Brooks said, is giving himself credit for seriousness on the fiscal crisis, but he's only talking about tax increases for the rich and, quote, hasn't actually come up with a proposal to avert sequestration, let alone one that is politically plausible, close quote. This struck a lot of people as odd, since Obama does talk often about a plan for deficit reduction involving spending cuts as well as tax increases. You don't have to like it, many don't, but to say it doesn't exist is, well, grounds for a correction, right? Not quite. Instead of a correction, Brooks added a little addendum to the piece, explaining that it was, quote, written in a mood of justified frustration over the fiscal idiocy that is about to envelop the nation, close quote. It's that righteous spirit, we're to understand, that led Brooks to suggest that Obama has only considered tax hikes for the rich, which suggestion he allows was not fair. Obama has proposed changes to spending, though they're, quote, not nearly adequate in my view, close quote. His view, naturally, is what Brooks is paid to put forward. But when he makes up facts to fit with it, shouldn't that be caught by an editor?